So just wait, see anybody comes along on the live stream. I'll grab a spear just in case any Anglo-Saxons about. Yeah, they don't like it up 'em. Oh, we've got 2 people watching. I think you're back. Yeah, I don't know what happened then. I think maybe moving the camera just unsettled the Wi-Fi, and I think Loki was playing a few tricks on the live stream there. So you have to be careful when live streaming, not to move your camera about too much. And then I'm just waving about with this javelin. So, you know, it's good to get used to your weapons and get to understand them. But also try not to hit your javelin into your camera and break your phone. Which so far I've not managed to do in the last 8 years. I did come very close once on camera when I was throwing some spears over the camera, and I had a spear literally just go about an inch above the camera. And you know, I got it on camera. You see it in the video. You just see a javelin flying at the mobile phone and just missing it. But you know, yeah. And then Logan Lazar says, "Wowzer! Yeah, it's just Loki. That was playing his usual tricks and trying to upset the live stream. You know what Loki's like. You know, he's the right devil, and." That's the way it goes, isn't it? And you know, I could sing you a song if you like, but I don't think I've got it tuned. The live stream's gone, but we're now back again. This is my Sutton Who Liar, which I've not yet learnt to play properly. And I'm struggling to actually tune it with the ends. But at some point, when I pull my finger out and I get a little bit more organised, I'm going to start learning to play the lyre. And I quite fancy doing a few parody songs on you know, if I could learn to play a song on this and then do some parodies under fair use. Then we're definitely going to have that introduced to the channel. But I must say, it's a lovely bit of kit. This wasn't cheap. This was £500. What's that? How much is £500? $650. And it's not one of the good ones. It's a good one. Don't get me wrong. Not being disrespectful to the guy that made it, but it's not one of the museum quality ones where you'll have to spend, you know, £2,000 or $3,000 on a really top quality one. But you can tell it's out of tune. That was out of tune. And I just can't twist it around. Normally you have a little tool which you can turn it, and I never got one with it. And I did make one, but I lost it in my house. That one's okay. This one here is a bit out. It's out. It's not in tune. Anyway, so liars. We're not talking about people that lie. Talking about the musical instrument. But it does make you think. I was thinking about this the other day. What would the strings be made out of? Would they be made out of intestines stretched out? Would they be metal? I don't think they'd be metal. I think they'd definitely be a part of an animal. Definitely out of tune, that one is. I could just do that for a live stream. Just play the same note. See how long it'll take you to go mad. Going mad because I'm playing the same note on a lyre. I don't know what else to do on camera. But now I'll change to this one. I'm definitely crazy. I'm not nuts, it's the person next to me. He did come in a nice case as well, but it's not an authentic case. I was looking at the Sutton Hoo lyre and how they speculated it came in a leather case. So I was thinking the other day that perhaps I could think about making a leather case for it and have the fancy sewing and make a reconstruction of it. But yeah. What else I've got around here? Oh, I've got a Dane axe. Well, you never know when Saxons are about. You always need a Dane axe in your life, great for chopping down heads and backing down doors, especially, if you catch somebody with your wife, then use one of these, Oi, what are you doing? Oh look, he's now split in two. Axes. There's always a few axes about. Well, can you own too many? I mean, would you take 3 axes into battle? I mean, it's a bit of a handful. I mean, yeah, you could have 2 down the side and 1 at your back in a bolt. But and probably my favourite one out of these 3, probably this one, because I just love the shape. It's got a lovely, lovely shape. But then again, I love this one because this is my first axe, and I love that shape as well. But you can tell, the difference between that. And I think I had an interesting comment the other day saying that this axe is actually upside down. I'm not sure about that. So let's just put these back and have a look. And I've got a T-shaped axe as well for woodworking. But again, this would be an Indian-made one. It's actually a really good quality axe. But it does make you think whether this axe is upside down. So which do you think is better, that way or this way? I think it is. I think it's been upside down for a while. Yeah, I think it's definitely upside down. Oh, so we made a discovery there. There we go. I think that's a lot better now. It's the right way up compared to that way up, which wasn't right. So it's got more of the classical beard shape. So yeah, it's probably, what's probably happened, I can speculate that at some point in the past, this has come off. And I put it back on. But I put it back on upside down. What a mistake of the maker. Ah, what a mistake of the maker. But then again, I also like the handle on this one because of this little dome shape. It just means when it's in your hand, it's not going to fly out. And I like that as well. It's got your shield. And the same with this one as well. It's got the grooves in, which have just been done with an angle grinder. Someone's just twisted it around an angle grinder. But again, it's got that ergonomic grip. And it's going to stay in your hand. Although I prefer to hold an axe a bit further up, to be fair, than perhaps I should call this live stream axes with Braggy. And I think that's just better because it's not going to fall out of your hand. And the same with this, with that little bit of a raise. Now, I wonder if this raise has an actual name, because it's a common feature on tools today. You'll see a hammer and it's got a bit of a raise. But if it's in your gripping, if I'm gripping it, I'm trying to pull it out, it won't come out of my hand. So again, interesting, and I'm not certain, but you see at the bottom now it's got the dot. So I think this has been turned on a lathe myself at some point. And I was beginning to carve into it, but because I drew a pattern on here and the pattern's come off, but I got to put it back on again. I'm going to go around and carve a bit of a feature around here, add a bit more of that uniqueness to it. But let's just go back to this axe here, which is another favourite axe of mine. And this is the one I lost in my garden for about 9 months. because I must have been filming, and I must have like thinking, well, I need to put this down, and I hung it on a tree. And I looked everywhere for this axe. I looked all around my house. I looked in the garage, in my attics above me. Couldn't find it. And then one day, I just saw it hanging in a tree. And I've actually gone and lost another axe, the axe of Egil Thorson, the big war axe. And I've looked everywhere. I can't find it at the moment. So it's either in my house, under a pile of stuff, or in my garage, which is slightly messy, or it's in the garden, or it's been, kidnapped and stolen by some evil people. But this one has a very straight edge. And so what I don't like about this axe is it's got no grip at the back, and it's very heavy. And what I don't like about it is that there's just no grip. I mean, yeah, you got the wood and you can hold it tight. Yeah, fair enough. Because you've got to hold it. You can't really hold an axe loose; it'll fly out your hand. But yeah, so that could be improved, and you can also see the liney pattern, which is quite nice about this axe as well. You'll just see it nicely reflected here. So it's also a very nice bit of wood. So whether it needs a bit of, something done at the end, you could put some leather around it, because I think it'll be a little bit excessive. Or it could end up, having some grooves in it, I think would work. But yeah, I mean, it's important that when you have an axe, that you got the grip right. So perhaps I could do that to it. And again, I love this axe because it's been colourised, it's been stained, and how the guy Tony who made it didn't stain the end of it there. And again, I could improve this by getting some very fine, bronze or copper or brass wire, and twisting it round and drilling a couple of holes, and then putting the wire. Let me just put my axe in between my legs. Dropped that on the floor, but it didn't land on my foot, so I'm safe. Yay, for another day, I can walk. So I could put some wire in these grooves, which I think would also give it that really unique look. But would they do that? Yeah, I mean, we know that they embossed wood equally like the embossed metal, so that could be another nice feature. And then I've been asked a few times, well, would they have runes on the axes? And again, because we don't find the wood and the handles very often, although there are a few, surviving in museums. Because the other day I was watching, let me just pick this axe up, a chat on a Viking group on Facebook talking about how much wood should stick out the end, because some of them can be quite long. So, and the guy was saying, well, that's inauthentic. But then quite a few people shared pictures of original axes with a bit of the haft or the shaft, depending what you call it, or the handle, with the wood sticking out. So it does depend. I mean, you can have it flush like this one, and you can have it proud, sticking up, and same again with this one. But it is your preference. I mean, I think when you're talking about having a handle with a bit of wood sticking out, then this is a classical example. If you compare the two, that's very short, but that's quite long. That could get damaged in battle. But again, it's personal preference, really, when it comes to that sort of thing. So let's go back to your live messages. So we have a message here from Rodney Katana, and it says, cheers from Florida, brother. Well, cheers to you, my friend. It's always lovely to see you here. And as I said before, I've got some friends in Florida. It's a place in the world I would love to go to one day, as well as many other parts of the United States. But yeah, that's quite a discovery, the fact that this axe was upside down. And it was nice to demonstrate me putting that back and correcting it on camera. And of course, that's a bit loose. It could do with either going in some water and having the wood swell up, which is only a temporary fix, to be fair. And you could pin it in place and have a couple of pins around it, which will stop it from falling off. Because the last thing you want in battle is when you're fighting for your axe head to fly off. And I've literally seen that in battle reenactments, where somebody's fighting with an axe and the axe head has just literally flew off, didn't make that noise, but it did fly off in battle and hit somebody's shield. And of course, the last thing you want is an axe head flying off your axe and hitting somebody in the face, because that can knock your teeth out like me. So yeah. And again, the difference between this axe and this axe is that this is a hand forged axe. So this has been made in a forge, and they worked it. They made a hole and they fire welded this section together. I mean, it's a little bit sharp there. That needs grinding down with a file. That would be illegal, and that would get you told off on a battle reenactment, because that little nick there, I don't know if you can see it on camera. There's just a slight nick that could cut somebody and hurt somebody. So that's why you always have a file, and you always check your weapons. And so what will happen, you're all preparing for battle, and you have two sorts of people. You have master at arms and you have training officers. And so the master at arms and training officer will go along individually and inspect your weapons. And so, and I've been both roles in the past. I've done master at arms and I've been a training officer. And when I was a training officer for the Derby group, we had a reputation, couldn't say that then, of being one of the hardest groups, in the country, because we had 30 guys who could form a shield wall, and we was pretty much invincible. And we'll just go through people and slaughter them on the battlefield. Pretend, of course, because it's always pretend. So as a master at arms, you have a responsibility for checking weapons. You're also a part of the system of training, because what you don't fundamentally do, you don't start off, with a axe. You be given one of these first of all, a spear, and a shield. And that's how you start off training. You don't just jump in the deep end, or it shouldn't happen. Nobody's going to go and give you a sword. You start off, unless you've got experience, then that can bypass the old, starting off point from a spear. But you start off with a spear. This is a javelin, by the way, not a spear. And then, you may progress to the sea axe, the knife, the spear. And then when you got those two weapons sussed and you become, a good fighter and a safe fighter with the two, you may be given an axe and told, yeah, you can have an axe. Have we got off stream again? This damn internet. Let me just check my camera if I can. No, I've got internet. I hate it when you lose a signal on a live stream. And of course, with this javelin, I'm not actually fastened it on yet. I've just got two tacks and put two tacks in. And of course, one of them's already come out. So at some point, I've got to drill through it and get a nail and actually rivet it on permanently. And perhaps we'll demonstrate this. I'll get all the spears I've got. And same with this one. This isn't actually fastened on. So again, I got to drill a hole through this bit here and actually fasten it onto the shaft at some point. Yeah, I think we lost signal. Oh, we'll try that. We've gone back live again. I hate it when you lose signal during a live stream. So anyway, yeah, spears and axes. So as a master at arms, this is a very old position to have in the sense of, Anglo-Saxon military rank and organisation. There you be. I'll let me carry this for this one. So there you go before battle, and everybody's standing in a long row, maybe 2 ranks thick. So you go along and you individually check people's weapons. So, for instance, there's old Thorolf the Viking. He's got a sword and an axe and a spear and a shield. You run your hands over this. You make sure there's no sharp edges. You check the rim of the shield, and I can tell you now that both this shield here would fail because the dog chews on the outside are just too old. Because it's 20 years old. So you wouldn't your hands along the axe. And then you'll say, well, no, that's sharp. You need to file that down. Your edge is okay, but you've got a burr here that needs filing down. And then, they'll either do it for you, or they'll watch you do it, or they'll come back after you've done it. So you always got to make sure your weapons are safe. Anyway, I seem to be losing signal. So I think at that point, I'm going to say goodbye. They're going to have my dinner. Because I've been streaming for 2.5 hours, and live streaming does actually knacker your voice, and does actually tire you out as well. So it's been lovely having you here on camera, and we'll see you on the next live stream. So yeah, goodbye with my javelin.